Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of School to Startup. I'm Ankita Bhosle from the University Partnership Team at Traction. Traction has been supporting the global startup ecosystem for over a decade as a leading platform for private market intelligence. We work closely with universities that encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. School to Startup is one such initiatives where we highlight academic leaders who are helping shape entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So today we are delighted to welcome Dr. Lucy Hatt. She's in the Department of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Newcastle University Business School. Good to have you here, Lucy.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So my first question to you is, how did you, start your journey with academics, and what has been your personal professional journey here, and how was your experience so far?
Well, I started as an engineer. So at 16, I was very interested in manufacturing and production management. So I did the sciences at 18 and went on to study mechanical engineering, manufacturing and management at university in a combined master's. And I started work for Procter and Gamble and was very excited about industry and mass production and how people and machines could come together and be organized to produce things. But I quickly realized that I was more interested in the people than in the machines, and particularly how to motivate people and what made them tick. So I moved into training, which took me into consultancy, and then quite late on in my career, I moved into academia. So I got my PhD 5 years ago, and I've been researching entrepreneurial education ever since, and teaching people who want to start a business and also people who want to be more entrepreneurial within a business in their own context. So I've got a mixture of practice and theory, but I'm particularly interested in helping anybody in whatever context they're working in create value, whether that's economic value, social value, or environmental value. And so that's why I like working at Newcastle University, because of their commitment to sustainability and responsible leadership.
Thanks for walking us through your journey so far. And it's always inspiring to see how different career paths lead into academia and shape the way knowledge is shared and applied. So my next question is on the similar lines. We would like to know if there are any exciting projects that you're working on, and what is the kind of impact do you hope to bring with these initiatives?
Well, when I first moved into academia, I didn't know much about entrepreneurship in terms of the study of it. I knew about entrepreneurs, but they didn't have a terribly good reputation. I mean, it was all about money, and it was all about individuals, and a lot of it was about men. And so I had to teach entrepreneurship, and I really didn't know what I was teaching specifically beyond the skills and the knowledge that you need in terms of, how to get insurance or how to protect intellectual property. So I was really keen to know if there was something different about the way entrepreneurs were thinking. And that was the start of my PhD, which was looking at whether there are threshold concepts that you need to understand in order to understand entrepreneurship. So that's been my academic journey ever since, looking to identify and really clarify what mysterious differences there are between people that behave entrepreneurially and people that don't, and really sharing that with a broader audience. So the most exciting project that's landed on my plate just lately is a book contract to write about the value of the threshold concept approach to entrepreneurship educators. So watch out for that in probably 2027, the last part of 2027. But other than that, I'm working on the MBA program at Newcastle University and trying to integrate as much of that sort of thinking into the MBA program. I run a design thinking community of practice at Newcastle, but it includes people from other institutions as well, which is really exciting, looking at how design thinking approaches can be used to develop entrepreneurial thinking in lots of different contexts and different disciplines. So as a pedagogical practice. And also I'm always experimenting within my own teaching, within my own students. And it's always really exciting to see what they do when they realize that they can be creative and they can be entrepreneurial within their own context. That's always really exciting.
That's really fascinating, and it's encouraging to see the projects that not only tackle sustainability challenges, but you did also highlight in a way inclusivity that is important when it comes to entrepreneurship, and that's really an important take, a very interesting perspective here. My next question is, what are the kind of trends you are seeing in the startup ecosystem that students should be paying attention to? And how is academia adapting to nurture these entrepreneurial mindsets?
Well, I think these are trends that are relevant to everybody, whether or not you're starting a business. But I guess particularly if you are looking to start a business, I think the most important advice I would give is to start with something that you are passionate about. So make sure it's coming from inside you and it's not anybody else's idea, or it's not something that ChatGPT has suggested to you as a way of making lots of money quickly. You've got to have a passion, because otherwise you won't be able to sustain the level of energy and time and the commitment that's required to make it successful. But I guess the main trend, obviously, is artificial intelligence and how much that is disrupting the market, both in terms of products and services, and how people are developing their ideas. So how people are using artificial intelligence to help stimulate their thinking, to become more creative, and to help them work out processes and systems to be more efficient and effective, as well as delivering their products and services. So that's absolutely critical. If you're going to be successful in any context, you need to really understand what AI is and what it can do and what value it can create, but also what value it can destroy, and to make really conscious choices about when and where and how you decide to incorporate it into your work. The other key trend I would mention is what you've and I have already mentioned is the importance of a purpose-driven approach. So to integrate sustainable and responsible leadership practices. I think I'm seeing increasingly that students are prioritizing those considerations in their work and in their projects, and much more mindful about making a positive difference in the world. It's easy to say, it's not so easy to do, but those choices, I think, are becoming more and more pertinent and more pressing. And then finally, the third trend is this increasing global interconnectedness. So it's not a new thing, but it's absolutely here. So any sort of business needs to be thinking about where its customers are, where its suppliers are, and not be restricted by any sort of geographical constraint. So thinking beyond local markets really early. And then thinking about what the university is doing in response to those trends that's where my research, I think, is very important, though I say it myself, is that idea of having a different mindset. So thinking about things differently. I think an entrepreneurial mindset is really helpful in understanding and coping with artificial intelligence, because entrepreneurs need to be open-minded. That's what you need for artificial intelligence. Entrepreneurs need to be adaptable. That's what you need for artificial intelligence. So you can go down the list and equate on an entrepreneurial perspective with a perspective that's really very well suited to an AI-enabled working context. The other thing that I think that universities are doing, and that's really important to do, is making sure that we are not we're really adding value in places that you cannot replicate with artificial intelligence. So in the human-to-human interactions, in physical proximity with other human beings in a social learning context, emotional understanding, empathy, experiential learning, and exposure to real life situations that you can't really replicate the full experience with any kind of artificial intelligence. And Newcastle's very well positioned to that, for that. We've got a citywide ecosystem in terms of entrepreneurial support. We've got the Newcastle Helix, which is the innovation district, and all sorts of support within the university as well for entrepreneurs.
That's really interesting perspective. Although we have seen that AI has been taking over a lot of things, but somewhere we do need to revisit our the vision itself, and also have that human touch, and also have those experiences play role in entrepreneurship. I think that's very unique way of looking at things. Although we have to now, since AI is taking over, we do have to include it in all our. Whenever anyone is starting a company, they really have to keep that in mind, but also try to keep it original. So now my next question is, have you seen any success stories or student success stories that you would like to mention from your university?
Yes, there's a couple that I'd like to mention. It's really relevant to what we were just talking about. So there's a chap called John Harrison who started a community interest company called Solidarity Farm. So he got his undergraduate degree in environmental science from Newcastle, and then he went on to do an executive MBA, graduating in 2023. He was a farmer. He comes from a farming background, but he didn't want to be a farmer. But he realized he had an awful lot of resource there that he wanted to do something with, and he realized that there was a need in the community. So he reconceptualized the idea of land being a source of food, just a source of food, to being a resource for people. So he's started the company that works with young people who are at risk of exclusion from education. So they've been chucked out of a number of schools, and they're very, very hard to teach in a traditional learning environment. So the farm uses therapeutic farming, outdoor learning, forest schools, etc. So he's really using the resources that he's got with the animals and the fields and the space and the nature that he's got access to make a difference to these young people in the local area. So all the farms in the valley where he is farming are working together as a collective now, and looking how they can complement the sort of services that his company is delivering, and reconceptualize the idea of what land can be and what the resources of a farm can deliver for society. So he was part of the Newcastle University's startup founderships program. So he got support from the program, but he also got support from the university, and it just shows how when you reframe your existing context, you can match that up with something that's really important to you, but also makes a really positive a really positive impact on society. There are a couple of others. So Ray Yang, he started Paxian Limited, and he got an MBA from us in 2022. So he's got a coffee company now, which blends Eastern and Western coffee cultures, particularly focusing on sourcing coffee beans from China. And then the third one is another of my students. So he was an MBA graduate in 2024, Richard Airy, and he launched a company with his colleague Sean Jobling, a company called Tribe, and that is about helping organizations, both public and private sector, unlock funding and optimize performance, particularly around transitioning to clean technology. So there's some really interesting companies which all have a sort of sustainability focus, but they are also making money for their founders and the entrepreneurial ecosystem that they're operating within.
Those are really, incredibly motivating stories, and this also shows how sustainability-driven ideas, when nurtured in the inclusive environment, can grow into a venture that creates lasting value. So I think that's really interesting. So how do you see? You did mention that AI has been playing a really important role when it comes to startup and innovation space, but how do you see academia evolving in the startup and innovation space, and how do you think that this will challenge them in the next few years?
I think one of the key roles of universities is to act as a connection, a connector hub for people in particular disciplines and people in particular regions. So a physical hub, but also a disciplinary hub. So where you get that specialist expertise coming together in academic conferences, academic journals. That's where the technical expertise can be developed. And then the actual human connections can be developed physically and in the internet. So it's a connector and also a catalyst from that perspective. So a facilitator, making sure that research and practice and ecosystem players are all connected up. So there's no other place where you can find, somebody who's great at marketing, and you can connect them with somebody who's a really technical specialist and has got a breakthrough idea in, say, I don't know, biomedical science, and you can put them together and they can form, a really successful founder team. So that I think it's about connecting and catalyzing. That's really the academia's role in entrepreneurial ecosystems. And then also making sure that we play a really crucial role in emphasizing the importance of responsible and sustainable value creation in the world today. So we're countering the rhetoric of populist politics and disruptive unstable political systems with doing the right thing on a social scale. So again, going back to my research, I think the other missing link that universities can provide is again helping people to think differently through approaches like threshold concepts, so that you can reframe your existing understanding and maybe your existing preconceptions that's been nurtured through media or popular culture, and start to think much more critically and independently, so you can make up your own mind and do and plow your own furrow and not just follow the crowd.
That's a very powerful vision to start with, and academia is clearly moving beyond the traditional teachings, and it is stepping up to be a driver for innovation and inclusive change, and trying to bring that social impact. So that's a quick, and powerful vision that academia is carrying today. What is the kind of advice you would like to give to any student or any budding entrepreneur who are just starting off with this fast evolving landscape?
Well, I think I probably say again what I said at the beginning, is that start with something that you really care about, but then test quickly. So don't hoard your ideas and keep things secret because you don't want it to be stolen. I mean, be mindful of intellectual property and protect your intellectual property appropriately. But after you've reassured yourself that it is protected, then be generous and share your ideas and test them quickly. And be open to the idea of failing, because it's really just a different type of experimenting and rehearsing. A musician wouldn't expect to play a piece of music perfectly the first time. So similarly, your first idea may not be your best. And by working with your potential customers very early on, you will develop an idea that's much more likely to be successful. And then really think about what's important to you. Don't get swept up in the idea that money is the only measure of success. Think about really what success looks like for you, how much money you really need, how much money you want, and then what other things are important to you about impact on society, how you want to contribute, where your skills lie, as well as where your passions lie. So those are the ideas that I would really give to any budding entrepreneurs. Yeah.
That's a really valuable advice, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners and any, especially young innovators, looking to balance sustainability and equity and try to bring the, trying to act also, follow their passion would be, finding your words both practical and inspiring. My last question is, if our audience want to learn more about your work, your research, or any upcoming projects, would you like to mention some publications or any websites that we can read about it?
Well, I try and keep my own website pretty up to date. So that's www.lucyhatt.co.uk. That's got everything I've written on threshold concepts in entrepreneurial education, and also just Google my name. It's fairly unusual, so you'll probably find me like that. I've got a staff profile on the university, and watch out for my book in 2027.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of our audience is eager to read your book, and also we'll definitely visit your websites to keep ourselves updated with the work you're doing. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom with us today. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. And we hope this episode has sparked new ideas and inspired you to approach innovation. Uh, uh, but with a better perspective, and stay tuned for more such conversations. Thank you so much.